money.
Get Spectrum Internet and TV from $44.99 a month each with no contracts. Ask about our easy self-install options to install your new services yourself. Call 833-918-4499.
I'm David Perdue, and I approve this message.
Riots destroying cities. Officers hunted down. Radical Senate candidate Jon Ossoff on Trump supporters.
You're not just gonna get beaten. You're gonna get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public.
Ossoff would defund the police, confiscate your guns, close Georgia's military bases. Jon Ossoff's radical socialist agenda is dangerous.
Next drill. SNL alum Jason Sudeikis and two funny mamas.
Jeffrey goes, Ma. I finally told Jeffrey, just call me Sherry.
All new drill.
Weekdays at 3 on Channel 3.
Welcome back. We are outside with Amy Autenreith, who is with the Houston Museum of Decorative Arts. Do I have that right?
Sure, yeah.
I've always enjoyed your story, Amy, because we're talking today about this appraisal fair you have coming up on October 18th. But if my memory serves, you were simply visiting the museum, but you had this family knowledge of glass, and they overheard you talking about what you already know, and they said, hey, can you come join us?
Yeah, that's true. It was a spur of the moment trip. We went in and enjoyed it, and wasn't very long after that they came to me and said, "Would you like to work here?" And I said, "Okay."
And I have a brain for minutia, but it seems like you grew up in an area of Pennsylvania where much of there's a glass that's made up there.
Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, so people know we made steel, but before we made steel, we made glass, and there was probably over 100 glass concerns in that area. Mm-hmm. And right in my, the area where I grew up, there was at least 4 or 5. And I never paid much attention to it until some family members who were very immersed in the glass, field, I started listening and learning, and just by kind of osmosis, I was picking up on all of this information. And I had a great love of antiques from my other side of my family and old things, and I love history, so this meshes all really well for me.
Well, I brought the story up because the whole purpose of her appearance today really is to let you know about this appraisal fair that is coming up. Clement Antiques will be in town to do the appraisals, right? Is that right?
Yeah, the museum has a storied history with Clement's Antiques. So Miss Anna Houston and Mr. Clements, I believe, had some. They had business. She did a lot of purchasing and things like that for him. So to add to her vast collection. So we're trying to partner more with them. It's nice to be. To partner with somebody like that.
That knows your history.
Yeah, they know our history, we know theirs, and so it's a good fit.
So if you have that family clock that's been sitting on the mantle for 3 generations, or a pocket watch that was left, from your grandfather, and you've always wondered, is it really what my great Aunt Nellie said it was? This is your chance to come and find out.
You run into this quite a bit. We're having this appraisal fair to help people. We've got, there's a lot of older people. You see these boomers that they have a lot of things, and they want to know what this object is, or what is the value, or is that story true? Because you run into that a lot of the times. That story is not true. Sadly, you'd like to think that what you heard that was passed down through generations is not actually true, but it's always helpful to know. I always feel better, honestly knowing what an object or something is.
So are you limiting it? I know that it's an appointment event. Are you limiting it to 1 item per person, or could you bring in 2 or 3 little things?
You can bring in 3 items, and it's $25 an item, and you can bring up to 3 items, and we'll give you a little discount for $70 for those 3 items. If you can't bring it in, if it's too big, if it's a gigantic corner cupboard, or something like that you're unable to carry, pictures will suffice.
Okay.
And then the only thing we ask you not to bring are pre-Columbian fossils, American Indian artifacts, firearms, things of that nature.
Okay.
These appraisals are more of a verbal appraisal. They're not going to be good for fiduciary,
for insurance purposes,
insurance, that sort of thing. That would entail more research on an item, and it would be more time, which costs more. So, but this is a great way. If you've just got something that's sitting there and you're going, I really want to know something about it, it's a really inexpensive way to check something out.
Well, I think it's fun because, and sometimes you mentioned the corner cupboards, and people often think about these specifically large items as being the ones of value, but sometimes it's the tiny little pieces that would be overlooked that can be the ones that...
It might be that thing. I remember a quick story. I went into my mom's house one day, and I said, she kept a little Brillo pad on the sink in her kitchen, and I said, Mom, that's a piece of Van Briggle pottery. And I said, that's really valuable. And she quickly took out the Brillo pad and stuck the piece of pottery in her curio cabinet.
Wow.
So it was just kind of fun.
And yet, as good as that was, the whole purpose of it is to enjoy.
Exactly.
How many people can say that they have their Brillo pad sitting on a valuable piece of pottery?
Exactly.
Now, okay, so you want people to sign up for this. You're offering them a couple of different ways. They can email and reserve a time slot, but you can also make a phone call.
Yes.
Is that right?
And they're not calling the museum. They're going to be calling Clement's, and they're going to be setting up and interviewing you just a little bit about the object so they can do a little bit of just a preliminary information so they know who's going to be looking at it and what they should be looking at.
So I want to share that information real quickly. The email is info@clementsantiques.com.
Yes.
The phone number, if you prefer to call, is 866-425-3636. But then here's what's fun. So you have this appraisal fair happening on the 18th. Then you flash forward 4 days, and this shows the diversity of what you do at the Houston Museum. You're doing a podcast on the 22nd of October, and you're focusing it all on beer. Why?
Because it's Oktoberfest. We're partnering with Brew Chat, and Tanner Morrison, that runs and owns Brew Chat, runs a podcast, and he talks mostly about beer and drinking beer and tasting beers. And so we said, well, we've got these great historical beer steins, something that you might want to know a little bit more about it. So we're going to delve just a little bit into the history of beer making and the beer steins, and we're going to feature about 10 beer steins. And what Tanner has set up is you go to Riverside Beverage and you pick up some curated beers, and you'll sit at your home and taste these beers as we go through the show. And that is on Thursday, October 22nd, and that goes from 7 to 8:30 p.m.
So if you've ever thought that the Houston Museum had just one thing to offer, now you know. Far from it. It's a vast collection of all types of antiques that we're lucky to have housed here in Chattanooga. It is all decorative art, but one piece is not like any other.
Exactly.
Good to see you, Amy.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
I think I'm going to go home and see what my Brillo pad is sitting on. We're back after this.
This is Bach, and this is back. The Sensation Salad and Filet